After being given a difficult choice, Kieron became the owner of a Chev Apachi to help run Ted's new dairy farm. It isn't long before Kieron puts this monster to the test. Chapter 16. The Chev Apachi. Ted's offer sounded something like this. Do you want to go to Rhodesia and slog day after day, night after night, and get a degree in agriculture, or do you want to have the keys to a Chevrolet pickup and swan around on the farm I've just bought? Anyway, that's how I interpreted it. It was a tough decision, I can tell you. I pondered on my decision for some seconds. Chevrolets can do over 100 miles an hour. I discovered that fact one day, on several days actually, when hurtling down the 10-mile stretch from Ascari Farm to town. Ascari Farm was about 1,000 acres. It had a small village for the workers, a plethora of corrugated iron storage sheds and a dairy. It was my job to supervise it. Piece of cake. Imagine this boy. Red checked shirt, unbuttoned to the waist. Jeans thrust into Wellington boots and a packet of Lexington fags stuck in the top pocket. Hair like a wind-ravaged haystack. And now a light blue Chev pickup added to the mix. Cool? You'd better believe it. Before I relate my near-death experience, I should describe this light blue pickup. It was long, about 18 feet, I reckon. It was missing a stoplight. The windscreen was cracked, one hubcap that was dented. She had a big straight-six motor. In the cab, the bench seat had been covered with faded dining room curtains. It had a scratched dashboard used as a shelf to store assorted essentials like a hairbrush, several spanners, a hammer, a monkey wrench, spare gaskets, and a few Playboy magazines. Fixed in a permanent see-the-driver position, a rear-view mirror hung loosely in the center. The ignition key was long gone, so to assist in starting the engine, 2 wires, uninsulated and extended for driver convenience, dangled. The column gear shift was missing and had been replaced by a monstrous yellow-handled screwdriver. For added convenience, a small holster had been crafted to hold this improvisation when not in use. Plus, most importantly, I had the only portable record player in existence, bolted at a slight angle to the right of the driver's seat under the dashboard. My 1962 Chevrolet Apache. It was a clear day. Driver visibility would have been about 10 miles. Road conditions were pretty normal, as in a bombed airstrip, and the purpose of my trip was to get off the farm for a couple of hours to avoid working. I touched the wires and started her up. Clouds of smoke with dust billowing as I wheel-spun down the track. It was only 10 or so miles to town, and I hit the tarmac with a nice screech when the one tire that had any tread bit. Cruising nicely, I slapped a warped 45 record into the player slot at the same time as lighting a Lexington. Checked my hair in the mirror. Yep, fringe sitting nicely below the eyes. But while I was checking my reflection in the mirror and trying to break the sound barrier, I hadn't immediately seen the back of a bus in the near distance. Normally, stopping Chev was a simple matter. Press your shit-caked boot on the middle pedal. On this occasion, nothing happened. Must be out of fluid. Next option, handbrake. I pulled hard. There was a snapping sound. I still had 50 yards to implement Plan C. I whipped out the screwdriver from its holster and thrust it into the column. Crunch. Goodbye, reverse. Being an educated fellow, I calculated the statutory distance to be slightly more than 50 yards to perform a miracle, even though by that time I was crawling along at a mere 85 miles per hour. It was a tall order. Time was running out. The back of the bus got bigger. I forgot to mention there was another bus coming in the opposite direction. I made a quick decision. Either I smack into the back of the bus or turn into the storm drain to my left. It was smooth and wide, skirted by trees. I wrenched the steering wheel left, let go of it, and closed my eyes to let fate guide me. I opened my eyes again, watched 50 alarmed passengers peer down at me and Chev. The bus veered away. Shit, I was actually accelerating. The slow-moving buses ground together. Ahead, smack bang in my path, there was a concrete parapet. I would have leaped from the window if there'd been a window winder. Instead, Chev somehow launched into flight, propelled by a convenient rise in the road. My head hit the roof. Like a frisbee, a record sprung from the player. Spanners and Playboy magazines suspended themselves in mid-air, and wonders never cease. I executed a perfect landing on the other side as Chev belly flopped and ground to a halt. I took a deep breath and looked behind as the dust settled. It was not a pretty sight. Thank the heavens Ted hadn't seen this. I sat there and lit another Lexington, eased into first gear, and thanked my lucky stars I'd got away with that little digression. Casually, I gazed to my right. There was my mother, Betty, parked behind the other bus, looking across at me, back at her beloved son, who it seems had just survived his first flying lesson. I smiled and continued driving. She'd forgive me, I was sure of that.